In the heart of the rolling hills, where the grass was greenest and the river sparkled like diamonds, lay the small village of Orphan. It was a village unlike any other, full of farmers and traders, each one waking before the sun rose and resting only when the stars painted the sky. Every house in Orphan was built of clay and straw, with thatched roofs that rustled in the wind like whispers from the ancestors. The people here were humble and hardworking, taking pride in the simplicity of their lives. They tended their crops and cared for their animals, grateful for the land that provided for them. In this village, there was a boy named Sola. Sola was just a young boy, no more than 10 years old when tragedy struck. He was known for his bright smile, his curious eyes, and his kind heart. He loved to run through the fields, feeling the wind on his face, and he was never too far from his parents' side. His father, Adewale, was a strong man with calloused hands from years of farming, while his mother, Adoni, was gentle and wise, always knowing just the right words to say. But life in Orphan, though beautiful, was not without its hardships. One year, during the rainy season, a strange illness began to creep through the village. It came quietly at first, with only a few people complaining of fever and weakness. But soon, it spread like wildfire. Men and women who had once been full of life were suddenly bedridden, their faces pale, their bodies trembling with chills. The village healer tried everything, herbs, potions, prayers, but nothing seemed to work. The sickness claimed many lives, and before long, it reached Sola's home. One evening, Sola's father came home from the fields looking unusually tired. His once strong and sturdy frame seemed to sag with exhaustion, and his face was lined with worry. Adoni noticed immediately and rushed to his side. Adewale, what is it? Are you unwell? Adewale coughed and waved her off. It's nothing, Adoni. Just a long day in the fields. I'll be fine after some rest. But deep down, they both knew that something was wrong. Over the next few days, Adewale's condition worsened. He could barely stand, his once booming voice reduced to a faint whisper. Sola, watching from the corner of the room, felt his heart sink. He had never seen his father so weak, and it frightened him. He would sit by his father's side, holding his hand, praying silently for him to get better. But the prayers seemed to go unanswered. Then, one morning, the unimaginable happened. Sola woke up to find his mother crying beside his father's lifeless body. The man who had been his hero, his protector, was gone. Sola's world shattered in an instant. He couldn't understand it. How could someone so strong, someone so full of life, be taken away just like that? But the pain did not stop there. A few days after Adewale's burial, Sola's mother also fell ill. Adoni, though gentle in spirit, was a strong woman. She had fought through many hardships in life, but this illness was more than she could bear. She grew weaker and weaker with each passing day, and despite the healer's best efforts, her condition only worsened. Sola, now an orphan, sat by his mother's bedside, his small hand clutching hers. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "Please, Mama, don't leave me. I need you." Adoni, with the little strength she had left, turned her head and smiled weakly at her son. "Sola, my child," she said softly, "you must be strong. Life is not always fair, but you must have faith. God is with you, even in the darkest of times." Sola nodded, though he didn't fully understand. His young mind couldn't comprehend why God would take away the two people he loved most in the world. A few days later, Adoni too passed away. The village mourned with Sola, but no one could take away the pain he felt in his heart. He was just a boy, alone in the world, with no parents to guide him, no one to comfort him. The weight of the world seemed to rest on his small shoulders, and for the first time in his life, Sola felt truly lost. After the death of his parents, Sola's life in Orphan changed drastically. The once carefree boy with the bright smile now walked through the village with a heavy heart and eyes that no longer sparkled. The villagers, though sympathetic, could do little to heal his broken spirit. He had lost everything. But Sola was not completely alone. His grandmother, Ayakeji, who lived in a nearby village called Ellery, took him in. Ayakeji was an elderly woman, her back bent with age, and her hair silver like the moon. Despite her years, she was still strong and wise, having lived through many seasons of hardship and joy. She was known far and wide for her deep faith in God and her unshakable determination. Sola's first days in his grandmother's home were quiet. He barely spoke, still grieving the loss of his parents, and spent most of his time sitting under the big baobab tree outside the house, staring at the sky. His heart ached with loneliness, and though Ayakeji tried to comfort him, he wasn't ready to let go of the pain. One afternoon, as the sun began to sink behind the hills, casting long shadows over the village, Ayamorankeji approached Sola under the baobab tree. She sat down beside him on a wooden stool, her hands resting in her lap. "Sola," she began in her soft, weathered voice, "I know your heart is heavy, my child. You have faced a loss that no one your age should ever have to face. But there is something I must tell you." Sola turned to look at his grandmother, his eyes filled with sadness. "What is it, Grandma?" Ayakeji reached out and took Sola's hand in hers. Her touch was warm and comforting. "When I was a young woman, not much older than you are now, I too lost everything. My own parents were taken from me, and I was left alone in the world. I didn't understand why God allowed it to happen, but I learned something very important. No matter what life throws at you, you must hold on to your faith in God. He will never leave you, even when it feels like you are all alone." Sola listened intently as his grandmother continued, "There is a power in faith, Sola. And there is a power in determination. Life will always have challenges, but if you trust God and remain determined, you will overcome them." "But Grandma," Sola said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I don't understand. If God is with me, why did He let my parents die? Why am I so alone?" Ayakeji sighed, her eyes filled with compassion. "Sometimes, we do not understand God's plans. But I promise you, Sola, He is still with you. Your parents may be gone, but their love and the lessons they taught you will always be with you. And I am here with you too, my child. You are not alone." Sola nodded slowly, absorbing his grandmother's words. Though his heart still hurt, there was something in her voice that gave him a tiny spark of hope, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, he could find a way through the darkness. From that day on, Sola began to spend more time with his grandmother, helping her with her daily tasks around the house and the farm. Though she was old, Ayakeji was not one to sit idle. She tended to her small garden, where she grew vegetables, and every morning, she would walk to the village market to sell whatever she could. Life was simple, but it was filled with purpose. As they worked side by side, Ayakeji would often share stories with Sola, stories of her youth, of the challenges she had faced, and of how God had always guided her through. Each story carried a lesson, and slowly, Sola began to see that his grandmother was right. Life was hard, but faith and determination could carry him through. One evening, after a long day of working in the garden, Ayakeji called Sola into the house. She sat him down at the table and placed a small wooden box in front of him. The box was old, its edges worn from years of use. "What's this, Grandma?" Sola asked, curious. "This," Ayakeji said, smiling, "is something your father left for you before he passed." Sola's eyes widened. "For me?" Ayakeji nodded. "Your father was a wise man, Sola. He knew that life would not always be easy for you, so he left this box as a reminder of the things that are most important." Sola hesitated for a moment before opening the box. Inside, he found 3 small items: a worn-out Bible, a smooth stone, and a piece of parchment with words written in his father's handwriting. Sola picked up the parchment and read the words aloud. "Faith is the seed that grows into the tree of success. Determination is the water that nourishes it. Together, they will see you through any storm." Sola stared at the parchment, his heart swelling with emotion. His father's words were simple, yet powerful. He folded the parchment carefully and placed it back in the box. Your father believed in you, Sola, Ayakeji said gently. And I believe in you too. You are stronger than you know. With God's help, you will overcome any obstacle. That night, for the first time since his parents' death, Sola knelt by his bed and prayed. He prayed for strength, for guidance, and for the faith to carry on. And though the road ahead was still uncertain, Sola felt a new sense of determination rise within him. As the months passed, Sola's life with Ayakeji took on a peaceful rhythm. He woke up early each morning, helped her tend the garden, and listened to her stories about faith and determination. Though the memories of his parents still lingered in his heart, Sola began to heal. His grandmother's wisdom and love filled the emptiness he once felt. One day, Ayakeji sat Sola down after their evening meal, her eyes serious yet gentle. Sola, it's time for you to start thinking about the future. You are growing into a young man, and soon, you will need to find your path in this world. Sola frowned, unsure of what she meant. But, Grandma, what can I do? I have nothing, and I am just a boy from a small village. How can I ever succeed? Ayakeji leaned forward, her voice calm but firm. Sola, success is not about where you come from or what you have. It is about what you are willing to do and how much faith you have in yourself and in God. Remember what your father wrote, faith is the seed, and determination is the water. You have both within you, my child. Sola nodded, still uncertain but trusting his grandmother's words. What should I do? Ayakeji smiled. You should start by learning. Education is the key to unlocking many doors. If you seek knowledge with the same determination you've shown in helping me, you will find a way to succeed. The next day, Sola approached the village elder, Baba Adegbite, who was known for his wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures. Though the village did not have a formal school, Baba Adegbite often gathered the children under the large Iroko tree to teach them about the word, history, and the ways of God. Baba, Sola said humbly, I would like to learn from you. Will you teach me? Baba Adegbite looked at Sola with kind eyes and nodded. Of course, my boy. You have a good heart, and a thirst for knowledge is the first step toward greatness. Come, sit, and we will begin. From that day on, Sola spent every moment he could learning from Baba Adegbite. He absorbed everything the elder had to offer, from the lessons of the Bible to the wisdom of the ancestors. Sola's determination grew with each passing day, and he often stayed up late into the night, studying by the light of a small oil lamp. The other children in the village were not as interested in learning. They spent their days playing in the fields or helping their parents with chores. Some even mocked Sola for spending so much time with Baba Adegbite. Sola, they would call out, laughing, why do you waste your time with books? You'll never be anything more than a poor boy from Iron. But Sola ignored their taunts. He remembered his grandmother's words and his father's message in the wooden box. Faith and determination, these were the tools he would use to change his life. Sola's journey was not without difficulty. There were days when he felt exhausted, and the weight of his circumstances seemed too much to bear. There were nights when he lay in bed, wondering if all his hard work would ever amount to anything. One particular day, while returning from Baba Adegbite's lesson, Sola overheard two villagers talking. They didn't see him, and their words pierced his heart like a knife. That boy, Sola, one of them said, shaking his head, he thinks he can change his life with those books. But look at him, he has no parents, no money, and no future. What can he possibly hope to achieve? The other villager nodded in agreement. He's chasing dreams. He'll never make it. Sola stood frozen in place, their words ringing in his ears. Doubt began to creep into his mind. What if they were right? What if no amount of faith or determination could change his fate? He was, after all, just a boy from a small village, with nothing but his dreams. That evening, Sola went home feeling defeated. He sat quietly at the dinner table, barely touching his food. Aya Keji noticed his silence and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. "What troubles you, my child?" she asked. Sola looked up, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "Grandma, what if I can't succeed? The villagers say I'm chasing dreams. They say I'll never be more than what I am now." Aya Kenny smiled gently and shook her head. "Sola, you must never let the words of others define your path. People will always doubt what they do not understand. But remember, the power to change your life lies within you, not in their words." She took his hand and continued, "Faith in God is important, but faith in yourself is just as powerful. You have been working hard, and God sees your efforts. Do not give up, no matter what anyone says. Your journey is not theirs to judge." Sola nodded slowly, her words bringing some comfort to his troubled heart. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about all he had learned and all he had overcome. His grandmother was right. The path to success was not easy, but he had come too far to give up now. As the years passed, Sola's hard work began to pay off. He became one of the most knowledgeable young men in the village. Baba Adegbite often praised him, saying, "Sola, you are destined for great things. Your wisdom and determination will take you far." One day, a wealthy merchant from the city came to Iron. He was looking for a young assistant to help him manage his growing business. The merchant asked Baba Adegbite if he knew of any capable young men in the village. "There is one," Baba Adegbite said with a smile. "His name is Sola, and he is one of the most determined and intelligent young men I have ever met." The merchant met with Sola and was immediately impressed by his knowledge and humility. "You have great potential, Sola," the merchant said. "Come with me to the city, and I will help you build a future." Sola was overjoyed but also nervous. He had never been to the city, and leaving his grandmother behind was a difficult decision. He spoke with Aya Keji that evening, unsure of what to do. "Grandma," Sola said, "the merchant wants me to go to the city with him. But I don't know if I'm ready. What if I fail?" Aya Keji smiled warmly. "Sola, you are more than ready. You have worked hard, and now is the time to step into the world. The city may be different from the village, but the same principles apply. Trust in God, believe in yourself, and stay determined. You will succeed, my child." With his grandmother's blessing, Sola left the village the next morning, his heart filled with hope and excitement. As the city came into view, towering in the distance with its bustling streets and tall buildings, Sola knew that his journey was only just beginning. Sola stood at the edge of the city, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and fear. He had heard stories of the city, with its tall buildings, busy markets, and endless opportunities. But seeing it in person was overwhelming. The noise, the people rushing past, the smell of street food, and the constant movement, it was all so different from the quiet, slow pace of Iron Village. The merchant, Mr. Obafemi, led Sola through the crowded streets. "This is the heart of the city," he said, smiling at Sola's wide-eyed wonder. "Everything moves fast here, Sola. But if you keep your head up, work hard, and stay focused, you'll find your way." Sola nodded, though inside, he felt a bit lost. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind, faith and determination. He would need both to survive and thrive in this new world. Mr. Obafemi brought Sola to his home, a modest but comfortable house in the city's outskirts. "This will be your room," the merchant said, showing Sola to a small but neat space with a bed and a desk. "You'll help me manage my business, and in return, I'll teach you everything I know about trade and commerce. It's a lot to learn, but I believe in you." Grateful for the opportunity, Sola threw himself into his work. He rose early each day, helping Mr. Obafemi with his business dealings, learning about the markets, and assisting in managing accounts. At first, it was overwhelming. The city's pace was fast, and the work was demanding. There were moments when Sola felt like giving up, but he always remembered his grandmother's teachings. Whenever he felt discouraged, he would sit quietly, pray, and remind himself of the faith and determination that had brought him this far. Months passed, and Sola began to excel. Mr. Obafemi was impressed with his quick learning and strong work ethic. "You have a natural talent for this, Sola," he would say. "You're not just learning how to trade, you're learning how to think like a businessman. One day, you could have your own business." The idea seemed impossible to Sola at first. Him, a business owner. But the more he worked, the more he began to believe it was possible. He wasn't just surviving in the city, he was growing, learning, and adapting. Slowly but surely, Sola began to dream bigger. But life in the city wasn't always smooth. As Sola's success grew, so did the challenges he faced. Not everyone in the market was as kind and honest as Mr. Obafemi. There were those who saw Sola's rise with jealousy and tried to undermine him. One afternoon, as Sola was handling some accounts at the market, a man approached him, smiling too widely. "You're the new assistant, aren't you? I hear you're doing very well." Sola nodded politely, unsure of the man's intentions. "I'm doing my best." The man leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Listen, I know a way you can make a lot of money quickly. You've got talent, but why waste time working slowly when you could get rich now?" Sola's instincts told him something was wrong. "I'm not interested in shortcuts," he replied, remembering the values his grandmother had taught him. "I believe in hard work." The man's smile faltered, and he scoffed. "Hard work? That's for fools. You'll never get anywhere with that attitude. Think about it, no one in this city plays fair. Why should you?" Sola shook his head firmly. "I'd rather work honestly and sleep with a clear conscience. I was raised to believe that what you sow is what you reap." The man sneered and walked away, but Sola knew this would not be the last time he faced such temptation. The city was full of opportunities, but also full of traps. Staying true to his faith and determination would not always be easy, but Sola resolved to keep his moral compass steady. One evening, after a long day at the market, Sola returned to Mr. Obafemi's house to find a letter waiting for him. It was from Orphan. His heart pounded as he opened it, fearing bad news. The letter was from a neighbor, and it brought sorrowful tidings. His grandmother, Aya Keji, had passed away. Sola sank into a chair, his hands shaking. His grandmother had been his rock, his guide, his teacher. Even though he had moved to the city, he had always felt her presence with him, her words of wisdom giving him strength. Now, she was gone. For days, Sola felt lost. He went through the motions of his work, but his heart wasn't in it. He didn't know how to go on without her. It was as though the foundation of his life had been shaken. One night, unable to sleep, Sola knelt by his bed and prayed. "God, I don't know what to do. I feel like everything has fallen apart. I need your guidance now more than ever." As he prayed, Sola remembered the many lessons Aya Keji had taught him. Her words echoed in his mind: faith and determination, my child. No matter what happens, never lose your faith in God or yourself. Slowly, Sola felt a sense of peace wash over him. His grandmother might be gone, but her lessons and her love would always remain. He realized that to honor her memory, he had to continue living by the values she had instilled in him. His faith in God and his determination to succeed had brought him this far, and they would carry him through this loss. With renewed strength, Sola returned to his work, more determined than ever. He knew now that his journey was about more than just personal success, it was about living a life that would make his grandmother proud. As time passed, Sola's reputation in the market grew. People began to trust him, not just because of his business skills, but because of his honesty and integrity. He became known as a man who kept his word, who treated everyone fairly, and who worked hard without cutting corners. One day, a wealthy landowner approached Sola with a proposition. "I've been watching you, young man," the landowner said. "You have a good head on your shoulders, and I admire your integrity. I'd like to invest in you. How would you feel about starting your own business?" Sola was stunned. The opportunity he had once thought impossible was now within reach. But he didn't let his excitement cloud his judgment. He took his time to pray about the decision, seeking God's guidance just as his grandmother had taught him. After much thought and prayer, Sola agreed. With the landowner's investment, he started his own trading business, specializing in textiles and agricultural goods. At first, it was small, but Sola's hard work and dedication paid off. His business grew, and soon he was supplying goods to markets all over the city and even to neighboring towns. People from far and near came to know Sola, not just for his business success, but for the way he treated people. He became a reference point for others, especially young men who wanted to rise above their circumstances. They would come to him for advice, and he always reminded them of the same principles that had guided him: faith in God and determination to succeed. Years passed, and Sola's success continued to grow. He had built a thriving business, made a name for himself in the city, and gained the respect of those around him. But no matter how far he rose, Sola never forgot his roots or the village that had shaped him. One day, as he sat in his office overlooking the bustling city, Sola felt a deep yearning to return to Orphan. It had been years since he had visited, and he knew it was time to go back to where his journey had begun. When Sola returned to Orphan, he found the village much as he had left it. The familiar sights and sounds filled him with nostalgia. But what struck him most was the way the villagers reacted when they saw him. People who had once doubted him, who had mocked his dreams, now looked at him with admiration and respect. "Sola has returned," they whispered. "Look at what he has become." Sola visited his grandmother's grave, kneeling by the simple marker. "Aya Keji," he whispered, "I hope I've made you proud." Moral lessons. Faith in God and determination are powerful tools. No matter your background or circumstances, faith and determination can help you overcome any challenge. Sola's journey shows that even in the face of doubt and hardship, these principles will lead to success. Hard work and integrity pay off. Sola's honesty and dedication to his work earn him the respect of others and open doors for him. Success achieved through hard work and integrity is lasting and fulfilling. Perseverance through loss. Life is filled with challenges and loss, but those who persevere through faith and determination will emerge stronger. Sola's ability to continue after the loss of his grandmother exemplifies this resilience. Never forget your roots. No matter how far you go in life, it's important to remember where you came from.